Welcome to the GTN Show, and it is heating up ahead of the game. Some of the athletes are waiting tentatively for news of selection. Others are starting to fine-tune their final prep. And then on the long course side of things, well, there's a bit of banter going on at the moment between the two kings, Jan Frodeno and Lionel Sanders.
Yeah, we've got all of that, plus some serious stuff going on in the running world. Yep, you guessed it. More world records. And on top of that, we also have our Magic 5 giveaway winners to announce.
Okay, with the games just a few weeks around the corner, some of the athletes who've known they were qualified already have been, well, using this time to fine-tune their training. It's going to be hot in Tokyo, as you can tell from this post from the Norwegian. So Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Iden have been testing out some kit that's specially designed to help them in the heat, and as a result there's a very translucent looking tri-suit that's being experimented with.
They sort of leaked this suit quite a few months ago. I think Trimtex made it for them. They've been trialling it, but it's here in the flesh of them testing it, and as the Norwegians typically do, they're going to the nth degree with the analytics, the data, and they're using something like this. It's basically a core temperature device. A lot of the Pro Tour riders have been using this lately. Essentially measures your core temperature placed against the skin, and you can even read this on like a Garmin head unit and things like that whilst you're going along. So it's quite top notch and high tech. So essentially, I guess they're seeing which suit works.
Yeah, and they've been standing in a shower, seeing what it's like when it's wet and all sorts. So quite interesting. You never know, you might see more people wearing white tri-suits soon.
Well, yeah.
Not just Jan.
Preferably with the speeders underneath as they are doing.
But talking of Jan, actually, that leads us on to our next sort of little post we've noticed. There's been a bit of banter between Lionel Sanders and Jan Frodeno. And it all started from this post that Lionel put up saying, here's a little throwback to Oceanside 2015, the one and only time I got to toe the line with Jan Frodeno. Just basically saying how he's inspired by him and then calling him out for a race.
So Jan's obviously replied to this saying, should I accept this challenge or not? And he's put this to a poll to everyone out there on social media. Obviously, everyone's come back.
I mean, I'm
saying,
surprised it's not 100%, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, 90%.
So good he didn't leave him hanging at least. But,
he's put a few caveats in though, hasn't he? I mean, he did reply to Lionel as well. He said that sadly there's no late entries. It was Ironman Coeur d'Alene that Lionel was suggesting, and the entries apparently aren't available. Somehow I reckon Jan could get in if he wanted. But yeah, just saying that he's got to stay put in June. And then suggesting that maybe Lionel should come to Jan's backyard.
Hey, why not?
Yeah.
It would be super exciting, wouldn't it, to see those two head to head again.
It would be really cool. I mean, Jan did even suggest a virtual one, but we'd love to see it in real life. I think, especially like now we can travel a little bit within reason, but like Jan said, he did have a bad experience trying to get to America before with his passport and stuff, so he's probably reluctant. But
also spotted that Martin Van Riel head down to the south of France with his little crew, and all their bikes got left behind or stuck in transit, as they're borrowing bikes initially, but when his bike did finally arrive, and I've done exactly the same as him, he had stored his energy powder in tubs in his bike bag, and it had exploded all over his bike. And I know the pain. I spent hours trying to clean sticky, gooey energy powder off from the bottom bracket, and also it's a nightmare. So yeah, he had the same task, but he made light of the fact.
That'll be his Olympic bike as well, won't it?
Well, you'd hope someone like him would have a second bike.
Fingers crossed.
I'm pretty sure
we will do now then.
But yeah, and then also Sebastian Keenly having some fun. And this was a couple of weeks old.
It was a couple of weeks ago. I forgot to put it in last week, but it just made me chuckle. It's a really short clip with they're about to have a baby, and his wife is out running at 9 months pregnant, which is impressive in itself. But he's just making a joke, taking the mick out of Camworth and Patrick Langer on their sort of performances at Ironman, which just take a watch.
Nine months in, still running as fast as Cameron at the end of an Ironman, and less toilet breaks than Patrick on an Ironman. Performance of the year.
And then finally also we had the Iron Cowboy. Obviously we spoke last week as he was completing what we thought was the final stage of his 100 Ironmans in 100 days, or 100 Iron distances, sorry I should say. And he surprised us all by throwing an extra one in, as you all quite rightly pointed out to us. So we knew as
the show went out, and then everyone next day was like, oh, so it's actually 101. We heard you.
Yeah, hats off to you. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, now for the tri news, and it is heating up in the world of triathlon as we get closer and closer to the Olympic Games, and with that, the qualification.
Yeah, it's all waiting. Well, lots of athletes are waiting on tenterhooks. Some have just been announced. We have heard that we're going to have to wait till Wednesday when the show goes out, so we're going to miss a few of those. But Team GB have just made their final announcement. The women's team was selected, a year and a half ago, so that's not new. But it was the men's place that was sort of up for grabs, and I think Alex Yee proved his point at WTCS Leeds, where he won, and he has been officially announced as a member with the team, in the men's team, along with Johnny Brownie. So it's just two men going to Tokyo from Team GB in the triathlon.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to argue with Alex. He's well earned that spot, and
totally.
It's well deserved.
It's nice and clear cut, isn't it? And when selections like that, I think it's quite nice because the athletes who haven't made it can kind of really wish them well. And there's no sort of, it's horrible when it goes to, court cases and people are appealing and things. And I'm sure there will be some going on like that. And I do not envy any of these athletes because I know how stressful a time it can be with just the emotions, and it's out of your hands. The Olympic qualification closed on Monday, and now it's up to the selectors for those that aren't clear cut.
Well, talking of which, we are obviously still awaiting at the moment the US team. So by the time the show goes out, you may have heard, but we are still waiting. I think that's quite a tense one, isn't it?
Oh, the women's team, that's going to be really tough. But there's a lot, so we'll be talking a lot more about that next week on the show as well. Well,
moving on to the world of running, and we have a new world record through 10 kilometers.
Yeah.
And this is Gide Letesenbet. This is in the Ethiopian Olympic trials. Now, she bettered her own PB by over a minute, 1 minute and 20 seconds actually, to be precise, and beating the previous world record by 6 seconds to post a time of 29:01:03. Obviously, probably posing the question, can she go under 29?
Yeah. Well, that's what she's posing for herself. And that world record, I think, was only set a few days before as well. So we're seeing just in distance running, the records are just being smashed, aren't they? It's incredible.
Yeah, and actually something interesting for this, they used something new called the wave light technology. So essentially using the inside of the track, there's a strip with a light on it and basically set at that world record pace. And I assume the athletes can kind of see that out of the corner of their eye and try and stick to that or ahead of it so they can't see the light. Which is quite interesting.
It's like feeling like you're being chased though, wouldn't you? Like, oh no, it's coming.
Well, I do wonder, would it affect their race dynamics and their pacing, and actually could it be a hindrance in some cases, or could you argue actually it's unfair? I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, it won't be at the Games, but then the Olympics tend to be more about performances, less about world records anyway, doesn't it? Especially in athletics. But talking of world records, there was another one that caught our eye. It's another 50k world record, but this time an age group one, and it's been set by Gene Dykes at the age of 73. Now, he took 19 minutes off the previous record with a time of 3:56:43, which was an average pace of 7:37 per mile. And it sounds like after this, he's got a 100 miler coming up at the end of June, so at the age of 73, he's not exactly stopping, is he? That's impressive.
Well, if you don't mind, we're actually going to jump back and talk about the Olympic Games again, because we have a bit of a shake-up in the running world.
Yeah.
Mo Farah, who is the 5k and 10k Olympic champion for the past 2 Olympic Games, has yet to qualify for the Olympic Games in Tokyo.
And it's not like he's not been running or he's sort of retired and come back, is it? It's just he's changed his focus.
Yeah, so he went to marathon running, hoping to succeed there. And don't get me wrong, he's done very well, but hasn't actually met the qualifying standard. And it's actually not since 2017 that he has raced on the track, or at least over 10 kilometers. So he raced at the Birmingham track event at the weekend, and he was, quite a way off the qualifying standard, over 20 seconds. He went 27:50, which obviously is still remarkably quick. Yeah. But the qualifying standard was 27:28, and he finished in 8th place and 2nd Brit behind Mark Scott, who also failed to meet the qualifying standard. And yet, at the moment, he is yet to qualify, and he's got until the end of the month to qualify and try and get that spot. Now, conveniently, they have put on a special invitational event for Mo Farah. I mean, if anyone's going to get an invitational event, it is Mo Farah.
Fair enough, isn't it? If you've got 4 gold medals.
I think it's like almost a bit of respect, like his, with all his success on the track, his one last foray, go out in style, I guess.
Yeah, and if he can sort of sort out this injury and he's still got 5-6 weeks to the Games, then he still could be a medal contender. So it's kind of Team GB want him to be there if there's not someone else who's stronger. So
yeah, kind of scooted over that bit. So he has said that he had a bit of an ankle niggle leading into this race and feels that he's over it now and hopefully be good for the next. So Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
anyway.
well, it's interesting. So the 25th of June, we'll look out for that one and see how he does. Nice, just finish off the tri news. We've got a nice story here about Cy Hannaford, who's completing an ultra triathlon. Now, he's doing this to try and raise £100,000, which he's going to split between the Armed Services and the Felix Fund and Hummingbird Centre. Now, he's already swam 21 miles, which is the equivalent of the Channel. Then he's cycling from Land's End to John O'Groats, so he's kind of doing the three big ones in a sense. And he's currently partway through the cycle. Then he's going to finish off by running, I think it's 700 miles from John O'Groats back down to Bicester, which I think is where he lives. And he's hoping to actually be able to live stream some of this progress, but he's a few hundred subscribers short of being at 1,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. Yeah, which means that once he's got 1,000 subscribers, he can stream it live. So if a few of you are interested in this, go and check out Cy Hannaford.
Okay, now for some tech news, and we've only got a little bit of tech news for this week, but it's pretty exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Now, On are teasing us with a new shoe that they claim to be their fastest ever marathon shoe, and it's releasing next Tuesday on the 22nd of June.
Yeah, now we haven't seen it yet, but they've started to kind of drip feed bits. They've got something called their Echo files, where they're showing some of their athletes who have had the shoe, whether it's being the prototype or the actual one, and they've been testing for a little while. And if you go and have a look on there's some great glimpses of what the shoe is going to look like, and I'm super excited to try it myself. So if you are interested, it's on echo-files.net, and under the lab section, there's lots of kind of sneaky images and videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now moving on also to our Magic 5 giveaway and announcing the winners. So we've got quite a few here.
We have, I know, we've been Magic 5 have been super generous, not us. All right, our first winner is Jakob Nusden.
And we have Anthony Gruzdev.
Oh God, we should have read these first, shouldn't we, Mark? We've got Raphael Julian.
Nico Valera.
BOJAN TRIVIC.
Gary Ernst.
Baptiste Giloy.
Dylan Kingston.
And Sri Singham.
And finally, Tiffany Bolton. And yeah, congratulations to you all. You will have some Magic 5 goggles coming your way soon.
Exciting. We had some exciting racing this weekend, the sort of final chance for the Olympic athletes. But first, we're going to look at some long course racing. Well, it was kind of an interesting distance race that was put on by the PTO. It's the Eton Dorney Triathlon. And this was a 1,800 metre swim, a 60k bike, finishing up with a 15k run. So kind of it was interesting to see who it was actually going to suit. And the women's race was unsurprisingly dominated by Lucy Charles Barclay. It was a super fast swim, but she was joined by Lucy Hall for the swim. They actually went, I think, about 2.5 minutes quicker than the men, which is just incredible. And those two stuck together for the bike. Lucy Hall did get a verbal warning for being a little bit close, but it didn't really disrupt Lucy Charles Barclay's performance, and she had time, well, she made time to put her socks on in transition and her visor and everything, and grabbed her stuff and headed out. So she didn't take her sort of ITU sockless run after the week before, but yeah, dominating performance by her to take the win. Lucy Hall did hold on for second, but then there were some very strong biking performances by Kim Morrison and Nikki Bartlett further back, sort of battling it out, and it was Nikki Bartlett who had the stronger run to come home with that third place. But it was a packed field, and just quite exciting to see different dynamics. We didn't really know what was going to happen, because it's an interesting distance that we don't see raced.
And also it came about rather last minute, so a lot of these athletes were sort of throwing this into their schedule at the last moment. But as you say about the women going faster, or at least Lucy going faster than the men, Joe actually teased Tom Davis, who was both racing at the weekend, that Lucy Charles Barclay would go faster than Tom Davis on one of the disciplines over the weekend. And they put a bet on between the two of them. That. And well, it seems like Tom has to pay up, because they were significantly slower, not just a little bit. But on to the men's race itself, it was actually Tom Davis and Luke Pollard that sort of pushed ahead on the bike. They came to T2 together and really went off at a blistering pace together, and it looked like a fantastic duel. Although, in the final few hundred metres, as Tom Davis had already pulled ahead by about 10 seconds, and he was going on to take the win, Luke Pollard seemed to have a bit of a worrying moment and stumbled, very dizzy, and basically collapsed. He was helped across the line, but it took them a good few minutes to get him across the line. Meanwhile, Tom Davis had gone on to win. A few other competitors had gone past. Unfortunately, because he had been helped across the line, it's likely he's been disqualified. So tough. Fortunately, we have heard he is okay. But second place went to Leon Chevalier, who's an athlete close by to us here, and James Teagle took third.
Yeah, nice. Well, there was also racing over in Brazil. It was the Copa Brasilia Triathlon. That was won by Pamela Oliveira in the women's race and Ronaldo Colucci in the men's race. And this was also supported by the PTA, so it's all going towards those ranking points as we get ever closer to the final sort of selection ahead of Collins Cup.
Yeah, and then moving on from that, as we've mentioned already, we are getting to crunch time with the Olympic qualification. So we've got a number of other events that are happening literally in the final hour now for nations to potentially choose their final spots for their teams. So we're still yet to know whether some of these results are actually going to influence the qualification, but we are going to list off some of the results now. So one of which was the Mexico World Cup, which obviously quite a high profile race anyway, and that was won by Tyler Michalchuk on the men's side and then Alberta Pedersen in the women's.
Yeah, and then there were some other races. The African Championships was a bit of a battle for the South Africans for those final sort of rankings and potentially getting the eye of the selectors if they have already qualified. The men's race was won by Henry Schoeman and Simone Ackermann won the women's race.
Yeah, we also had the Oceania Champs, which is often obviously pulls in the Australians and also New Zealand athletes, and that was won by Luke Villian with Matt Hauser close behind his second, and on the women's side it was Jazz Hedgeland. Yeah,
we haven't actually followed how the selection's going for the Australian team, because that's another interesting battle, and we know New Zealand have got a few controversies or been going on over the last few Olympics as well. And there was also a win for Vasco Vilaca from Portugal at the Europe Triathlon Cup. Okay, it's time to take a look at your photos and videos in this case, and it's kind of bike heavy, and I think that's reflecting the fact that races are happening and the weather is good and everyone's just getting out on their bike and having fun. This one is sent in by Sean, but it's actually of Jenna, who apparently is training for Ironman Sweden. She's on her Canyon Speedmax CF SLX, and it's an early morning TT session with her coach Sean. Out in Dubai, and look at that beautiful light. You can't beat the sunrise, can you?
Imagine getting down the aero bars and whizzing along the road early in the morning, clean, almost like closed roads.
It does look incredibly empty, doesn't it?
Very nice. Next one in from Ged on his BMC in Dartmoor, and it's a hill that we recognise rather well.
We did our TT versus road bike hill climb on this very road.
But also you will know it a lot more because you probably are finishing most of your rides when you're back home.
It's no distance from home, so I did choose this one, but it's a cool picture. Like it, obviously.
Very dramatic. Next one from Germany, and it's from Milos, I think that's how you say it, not Milo, on his Canyon Endurance Disc 7.0, and it's in front of a lovely field of rapeseed. Yeah,
it's lovely colours in that picture, isn't it? It's just kind of simple and clean. I like the picture, and I do love the Enduro race as well, actually. It's a lovely looking bike.
Yeah, it really is. Well, do keep sending in your photos using the photo uploader links on screen right now, or you can find it in the description just down below.
All right, it's time for caption competition, and we had this picture of Alex Yee kneeling down at the start of the race in Leeds last weekend. We've got some great suggestions to kick us off, haven't we?
We have indeed. First one from Peter Franz Jr. I'm all about marginal gains. I'm starting closer to the water.
I like the way you got in first on that one, Mark. So we're going one each, and then the last one, I think it's a bit, you'll see in a moment what I'm on about. Anyway, our next runner-up is Jeremy Mill with just giving the competition a leg up.
Okay, and then I guess runner-up or next one, Ian Boys. No, Alex, you need to be head and shoulders above the rest. But now, over to you, Heather.
No, I'm not going to do this to you guys, but it is a song. It's referencing a hymn that we have in Britain. I don't know if it's going to translate to anyone else around the world.
Come on.
But you're basically starting it. It's "O come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant." Now, obviously, with Ye, he became triumphant. But I gather Mark has sung carols and done a solo before.
Here we go, throwing it back at me.
Come on.
Oh, come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. How was that?
That is brilliant.
Oh,
now
thanks,
the best bit is, if we did that properly, it goes higher and higher.
Yeah,
and I would love to hear how high you could go.
I was taking on the deep tones.
Apart from Mark's performance, which was obviously more than a GTN cap winning worthy performance.
Thank you.
Well done, Fergal Akala. Do get in touch and we will send you your GTN cap if you're still listening after that.
Yeah, I think this is going to be created into memes and whatnot. But now for this week's caption comp photo, and it's from this weekend's racing of some of the guys legging it into the water. So do your best, leave your captions in the comment section down below.
And if you don't want to hear any more singing, no singing suggestions. Anyway, well, we're coming to the end of the show, but before we go, I just feel like I need to ask you how the weekend went, Mark. We obviously talked about last week, you're preparing for the Paddy Buckley round.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
sounding quite confident.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited. I was excited to experience it, and I definitely experienced it. I'm happy to admit Paddy Buckley defeated me. It was brutal, absolutely brutal. I felt like I was prepared in terms of the distance, the profile, but the terrain was just like nothing else I've ever experienced before. And people had kind of warned me that out of all the rounds and all these ultras, the Paddy Buckley is just unique. You need to spend time in the mountains, and I just didn't. I didn't have time, although I would have quite liked to. But I thought, be all right, be okay. But running on loose scree, vertical, like it was just ridiculous. And we all found it when there's a group of 6 of us, and just the muscle damage after even just 30 kilometers, and how long it was taking just to cover 5K, and it was just. And we were going for 15 hours, and I say we only covered 70K, but that was, we still had another 35K to go, and Snowdon in amongst that. And so it was a tough day, but it was amazing.
Respect for doing it as much as you did.
But the main thing is I came away from it going, look, that was really tough, but I'm so excited to go back and try it again and actually finish it. And I just need to be conditioned better.
Yeah.
So there we go.
If you're still got the DOMs and you're already talking about going back, that is a definition of madness, I think. But well done anyway. Well, coming up, we've still got some exciting things. Actually, something very exciting. We have obviously mentioned our new presenter, James. Well, he is going to be on the show, I think, next week. Yeah, we are throwing him straight in the deep end, and he's having to deal with me on the show next week. So yeah, wish him luck, but also please do invite him in to the channel. We also have loads coming up on the channel as well. We've got how long can we hold our breath for underwater, which is really exciting. We've got someone very special coming in for that video, as well as how to improve your cadence for running. Yeah, and before we go, do check out the GTN shop. We've still got these lovely new t-shirts, which in summertime is actually nice that we can wear them as well. So the link is on screen now. Give us a like if you've enjoyed it. And remember, you can hit that globe if you haven't yet done so to subscribe. And a couple of videos that might take your fancy if you've not yet spotted. On the weekend, we had the start of our new series, Beginner versus Amateur versus Pro. Here's a good one. Yeah, and it's myself against my friend Natasha, who's a beginner, and Kat Matthews, the pro. We've started on the swim, but we've got the rest to come. So keep an eye out for those and check that one out as well. And finally, we've got some rather delicious breakfast muffin video with Gaz Oakley. So check that out too.